going this side? Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to begin the funeral service. We ask for those that are present here, if you have a cell phone or pager, if you could turn it to the silent mode. Officiating is Rabbi Yitzchak Falk. We're going to begin with Tehillim Chaf Gimel, Psalm 23. I'll read it in Hebrew. We can read it together in English. It's found in your pamphlet. Mizmor LeDavid. Adonai roi lo echsar. B'no desha yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yinhaleni. Nafshi shovei v'yancheni b'magle tzedek laman shemo. Gam ki elech begetz al mavet lo irara ki ata imadi. Shivtecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni. Taroch lefanai shulchan neged zorai. Dishanta v'shemen roshi. Kosi rivaya. Ach, tov v'chesed yurdefuni kol yemei chayai. V'shafti b'veit Adonai liorech yamim. Together, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Traditional to read the passage from Proverbs known as Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor. Eshet Chayil miyimsa, v'racha mipni michra, batach bale bala v'shala lo yechzar, gamaltu tov v'lo ra kol yemei chayeha, darshat tzemer ufishtim v'tas bechavetz kapiyah, haita kanyot socher mimerchak tavi lachma, V'takom ba'od laila v'titan teref leveta v'chot neroteha. Zamamasa deva tikachehu mipri chapen et takarim chagra ba'oz matnea v'tamez rotea. Tama kitov sachra lo yichbe b'laila nera. Yadeha shilcha v'kishor v'chaped tamchu falech. Kappa parsa la'ani v'yadeha shilchan le'evyon. Notira leveta mishaleg ki chol beita lavush shanim. Marvadim asatala sheshvya gaman lavusha. Noda b'sharim bala b'shifto imzik ne'aretz. Sadin astav timkor v'chagor natna l'knani. Oz v'adar levusha v'tischak liyom acharon. Pia patcha v'chochma v'torat chesed al hashona. Sofia lichot beita v'lechem azut lo tochel. Kamo v'yanea v'ashura bala v'halala. Rabut banut asuchayel v'yat alit al kulana. Sheker achein v'hevel yofi. Isha yirat Adonai hi titalal. Tenula mipri yadeha. A gallant woman who can find. Far beyond pearls is her worth. Her husband's heartfelt trust is in her, and he shall lack for nothing. She bestows goodness upon him and never harm all the days of her life. She seeks out wool and linen, and her hands work willingly. She is like a merchant fleet, bringing sustenance from afar. She arises well as at night, and gives provisions to her household and directions to her maidens. She envisions a field and acquires it, and from the fruit of her handiwork she plants a vineyard. With vigor she girds her loins and strengthens her arms. She discerns that her enterprise is good, her lamp does not go out by night. Her hand she stretches out to the distaff, and her palms support the spindle. She spreads out her palms to the poor, and extends her hands to the destitute. She fears not snow for her household, for her entire household is clothed with scarlet wool. Fine covers she made herself, then linen and purple wool are her clothing. Prominent in the gate is her husband, he sits in the elders of the land. She makes a cloak and sells it, and deals a belt to the peddler. Strength and splendor are her raiment, she cheerfully awaits the last day. Her mouth is opened with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She oversees the ways of her household, and partakes not of the bread of laziness. Children arise and praise her husband, he lauds her. Many daughters have accomplished well, but you have surpassed them all. Grace is false and beauty is vain. A woman in awe of God, she should be praised. Give her the fruits of her own hand, and let her deeds praise her in the gathering places. We are gathered here today to give final honor and respect to Brenda Wishner. She is mourned by her brother, Irving, and of course her late sister Sharon Wishner, or sister-in-law Sharon Wishner, her nieces and nephews Donna and Yigal Yahav, Jim Wishner, and Amy and Dan Levin, and of course many, many great nieces and nephews, and a great nephew or great nephew as well, and niece, as well as many, many, many friends and colleagues through the years. I'm going to call upon her niece, Donna Yahav, to begin with the eulogies.
From my earliest childhood memories, our Aunt Brenda was always in the picture, every family event, simcha, and holiday. Being that I was the oldest, I got quite a bit of attention. As the newest member of the family, Brenda took pictures of me non-stop. So, as she had a fascination with photography that lasted her whole life. Our childhood was marked with weekly visits to Brenda and Zadie Abbey's apartment. Brenda also took me on many excursions in the city. Brenda truly loved Chicago. When I became engaged to Yigal, we received many thoughtful gifts, but the most thoughtful one was from Brenda, who bought Yigal a CD from Ofra Chaza, a Yemenite singer. She researched his culture and brought something so thoughtful so he would feel welcome to our family. When we moved back to the neighborhood, Brenda was able to spend even more time with us, holidays, events, and was able to participate in the continued life cycles of our family. Naturally, when my oldest son Daniel was born, she took books and books of pictures, which she recently gave him on his wedding day. My father had taken on teaching all of my kids to swim at 18 months old. When my girls got older, he couldn't take them anymore because of the Orthodox custom of separate swim. So Brenda, to the rescue, she took my girls swimming at the JCC every week. When Brenda got a job at IDT, she truly integrated into the neighborhood. We began to have mutual friends, and Brenda enjoyed her education of Orthodoxy. She was respectful of everyone's opinion and always tried to keep peace. Brenda was thoughtful, kind, giving, and a peacekeeper. Family was everything to her, as well as the many, many friends she has made through the years. She was athletic, an avid cyclist, tennis player, swimmer, bowler. She lived for bowling. She also loved photography, books, and growing tomatoes. Brenda was also fascinated with the Sephardic side of the family and was researching our history. Your presence always created peace in our family. We will miss you and your peaceful ways.
I'm going to call Brenda's great nephew, Daniel Yahav.
There's quite a lot to say about Brenda, but coming off of a lot of what my mother just said, I'll bring us to the point soon. We're currently reading a lot of the Torah portions which deal with the building of the Mishkan, building of a tabernacle. We're within those portions right now, and there's a famous medrash. There's a part where the rabbis tell us that there was a dialogue between God and the angels, And the angels tell God, they say, why are you going to send the Bible? Why are you going to send the Torah down to heaven? Why not just keep it up here? Why give man the opportunity to build a world? Why give people the ability to try to build something when it's much better up here with us? We're perfect. We're never going to destroy anything. We're never going to ruin anything. And we're never going to disappoint you, God. So why are you going to send it down? Why are you going to trust people? So God says, you're right. You're correct. I wouldn't. People will disappoint me. People will let me down. And unfortunately, people will fail. But there's one person in this entire world who the entire world was worth being created for. And that was Aaron HaKohen, Aaron. Because Aaron was somebody who loved peace. He loved trying to pursue everyone towards a world where he could be happy for others. When his brother Moses came and took over and became the leader, they say that Aaron had such a sincere, genuine happiness that the entire world was worth it. He didn't take the spotlight. He wasn't frustrated. He didn't say, I'm the older brother. I deserve to be the leader. He had such a sincere love and happiness that God said the entire world was worth being created just for him. Brenda had a lot of that. Brenda had that sincere joy and appreciation for others. I mean, every time I spoke to her, she said, she would just bring up all these moments. She said, Daniel, I remember when you were 3 years old. I'm like, Brenda, I know I'm 30. But Daniel, I remember when you were 3. And she would just keep on bringing up the points of how much I in my youth brought joy to her. And there's a lot, and it happens with my children as well. So I'm, to see a trait like that is incredible. Sometimes we look at it like she was a more simple person. But sometimes those are the best people. It's the simple people who can teach us the most. And I would say I was very fortunate to have Brenda in my life. And it was it's very challenging how quickly she just boom, like that, in and out. She's departed from us, but we were very blessed to have her. We were very lucky. She was a very special person to us, and I myself have learned a great deal amount just from her, and something I'll remember, to always try to learn and be happy for others the way she was happy for us.
I'd like to call Brenda's nephew-in-law, Yigal Yahav.
I'll try to quote a few things from Psalms that truly correlated to Brenda. First, we ask ourselves, we are brought to this earth, and each one of us has a purpose. Each one of us has a goal. We don't just come and go. We come and do something to this earth that God created. And of course, we have to do the best of what we can. So I was wondering, everybody has destined and has time. And here in Psalm 90, it say, Yemesh notenu 70 shana, ve'im b'gvirot 80 shana. Meaning, the days of our years, among them are 70 years. And if with strength, it's 80 years. And Brenda reached that age. So you have to start to think what qualities that person have that really she reached, according to David HaMelech. She's 11 years older than David HaMelech. What gift she have to give to this world, or she gave to this world, that she had that privilege. So one of the common denominator in the Wishner family is to live in peace with everyone. Maybe to create some little irritation, but the irritation meant for good things, to wake you up, to do something good. And truly that's what I enjoyed seeing with Brenda. Brenda always was participating in our happiness, as you heard from Donna and my children. But she had dimension of tranquility that we didn't realize, but she really created that peace by her presence. And that's additive by itself. We call it tam, an innocence of love. And that's dimension that not many of us possess, and perhaps I learned from that. Also, she continuously smiled, which correlated beautifully with the picture that she took. She always was like that, very quick to forgive and always to build beautiful relationship. So I'm going to end up with some things that is very important, and again, it's Psalim. Always have that dimension. Shmor tam v'rei yosher, ki achrit leish shalom. Always keep that dimension of innocence in you at time of needs, and be always man of peace, because peace is going to give a better creativity, better life, better productivity. And I'll continue with the following. We don't dwell and cry for the death of the person, but we dwell and cry that we don't enjoy the tranquility of that person around us. May her environment continue with us for many years, with the Wishner family, to continue that tranquility and love that she always possessed.
I unfortunately only got to meet Brenda at the very end of her life at Glenbrook Hospital. But as the Rabbi of Ezras Israel and Brenda and Irving, such longtime members of the synagogue, I'm honored to be here today to eulogize her. We've been, as Daniel mentioned, reading the Parshiot describing the construction of the tabernacle of the Mishkan, and we concluded that with the last of these Parshiot. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah, okay. Irving, did you want to speak now? I'm sorry. Okay. We read the last of these Parshiot yesterday on Shabbat, and Parshat Pekudei, the parsha we read, begins with Moshe giving an accounting of how they used all of the materials that had been gathered, and they gathered all sorts of gold and silver and nechoshet and copper. And the Midrash tells us that based on the silver, there's a large amount of silver that went to these, what are the sockets, the base that were holding the walls, and a very small amount of silver that went to what are called vavim, which are the little clips that held the outer walls of the Mishkan, of the curtains, onto the 60 poles that went around. And it says that Moshe, when he was going through, according to the Midrash, when he was going through the accounting, initially forgot about the silver that went to these little vavim, these little clips. And he was very worried what happened to this amount of silver. And this is specified separately from the other silver, where it says it's ve'et elef ushva meot v'chamishim v'shivim asar vavim lamudim. They're separated out, and that Hashem reminded him, oh yeah, the vavim, those little vavim holding up the curtains. And then Moshe says, of course, that's it. And the Or HaChaim tells us that the vav, the letter vav, and the beginning of this pasuk, which is not really needed there, was added as a reminder of this in this pasuk, that this vav, like the vavim, like the clips, like holding up the curtains, was added. So this is symbolic of that it's easy to overlook contributions, right? Somebody's contribution went to make the menorah. Somebody's contribution went to all the big important things, right? But somebody else's silver went to these little clips. But what happens if you don't have these clips on each of the 60 pillars around the Mishkan? The curtain falls down, right? The whole thing falls apart without these vavim, even a small roll. And Moshe initially forgets about it, and it's easy to overlook the contributions, but without the vav, without the connecting, without holding the curtain onto the pillar, the Mishkan can't function. And the Mishkan is symbolic of how we as a Jewish people bring the Shekhinah, the divine presence, into the world. And each and every Jew, each and every vav that's holding up a curtain plays an important role, and we can sometimes overlook that role, but it's at our peril because we're missing something that's crucial. And I think Brenda, in many ways, she was a vav. She was holding things up. She was connecting people. She was connecting them together. And it can be easy to overlook how important that is, but when you have a breakdown, when people aren't connecting, when everyone is only thinking of it their own way, the Jewish people falls apart, society falls apart. This is essential. Building the Mishkan symbolically in the world requires people who are connectors, people who are vavs, people who are binding everyone, the family, the community together. And Brenda, as has been mentioned by her family, was someone who was truly a peacemaker, a connector, someone who was incredibly social, had many friends, tried to learn from all those around her and grow throughout her life. And it's a quality that I think in a world in which there's a lot of division, that we can learn from so much about the importance of trying to connect and to build as an entirety of a Jewish people. So I'd like to call Irving up. I apologize. Come.
First of all, thank you all for attending. Typical Chicago weather. What can I say? Brenda Wishner. Brenda grew up in a difficult neighborhood, but with success, Brenda succeeded. She didn't follow the path of most of the residents of that area. We'll go into that later. In our youth, we, like brother and sister, had our ups and downs, but we were always there for each other. And as Donna said, when she became an aunt, she was very involved with taking pictures. That was one of her passions. When I got married, Brenda stayed in the neighborhood until my mother passed. Brenda took care of my father, and they followed us to West Rogers Park. Little thing about Brenda was always a health conscious person. Brenda was one of the first cyclists with her bicycle. Those who remember, she would ride her bike on a Sunday 25, 30 miles before all these trails were invented or fixed up. She loved traveling with her friends, and she spent many, many summers or going to tournaments. Bowling was really her passion. And every job that Brenda took on, she had a solid devotion, a solid dedication. When she moved to Winston Towers, she became involved, and she was very proud to be a floor coordinator. And those of you who live in condos, you know what those people do. Very dedicated. She took on her responsibilities in every job that she had. Most of all, and I have to say this, repeat performance. Brenda started working for a company called IDT. It was a Jewish organization. She had a lot of religious Jewish co-workers, and I think that brought her back to the religion. Not that we ever left it, but she was more involved, and she really became interested, and naturally with the kids, with her nieces and nephews, she tried being a role model. There's other things, but most important, many things are important, but when you happen to go to a store, when you go shopping, and you pass the produce section, and you see a tomato, think of Brenda. And those of you know what I mean. Shalom, Brenda.
May Brenda's soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. We ask if it's not difficult for you to stand for the Kelmoli Rachamim. Kelmoli Rachamim, Shochein, Bamiromim, Amazei Menucha, Nuchanao, Kanfei Shechina, B'malot, Kedoshim Utorim, Kazor Rakia, Mashirim, Et Nishmat, Brenda Bat Avraham, Shalacha Lo Lamah. Bavur Shanachnu Mitpalim Ba'ad Haskarat Nishmata Began Eden Tehe Menuchata Lachin Bal Harachamim Yestereha Beset Kanafav Lo Lamim Vitzor Betzor HaChaim Et Nishmata Adonai Hu Nachalata V'tanuach B'shalom Al Mishkava V'nomar Amen. God full of compassion who dwells on high, grant proper repose on the sheltering wings of your presence in the lofty levels of the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament unto the soul of Brenda Bat Avraham, who has gone to her world and for whose memory we pray. May her repose be in paradise. May the Master of Compassion bring her under the cover of God's wings and bind her soul in the bond of life. May the Lord be her heritage, and may she repose on her resting place in peace. And let us respond, Amen. Mitzvah, mitzvah chesed shel emet, of loving kindness and truth for all those assembled to fill the grave, to do the burial ourselves, and everyone is invited to do so. The custom is we're going to do the first 3 shovelfuls upside down, and we don't hand the shovel from person to person, just let it back, save some time.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we fill in the grave, at the conclusion of the interment, the family will be sitting Shiva at the Wishner residence, which is going to be at 7033 North Kezi, where they'll have Shachris every morning at 7 and Mincha Marav at 5:15. And the family will receive visitors between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. That information and the information for contributions that the family has requested is on our website, ChicagoJewishFunerals.com.
Use the shovel regularly.
Use the shovel regularly.
We did it at the beginning. It's symbolic, but we actually need to do it. That's at the beginning.
In a couple of moments, we're going to conclude with the Kaddish, if we can all gather in. And then after the rabbi concludes with the Kaddish prayers, we're going to form an aisleway leading away from the grave, so Irving could walk through and we could offer him the traditional words of condolences.
Okay, this is a unique. This is a unique Kaddish following burial.
Phrase without Israel.
Yeah, there's this middle part. I know.
That's the one that I always have.
Okay, do you want it in? May Rabbi B'almadi Te Te B'chayechon U'mechon Chay L'chol Beit Yisrael B'Agalah Zman Kariv V'Yimru Nishmei Rabba Mavarach U'Mel Maya Birchata, Vishirata, Tushbechata, Nechemata, Damiran Be'alma, Ve'Yivru, Amen. Hey, Varach Lamo Meo Maya, He ran off without me. Hey, Shlama Rabba,
Shemayim, V'chayim, Aleinu, V'Kol Yisrael, V'Yimru, Amen. V'aseh Shalom B'Meimov, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'Kol Yisrael, V'Yimru, Amen.
Yeah, sure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if we can form an aisleway, which is kind of formed over there, and Irving will walk through, and we'll go over them to traditional words of condolences.
So Irving will switch out through an aisle. Everyone else is gonna. So Simcha, where are we doing the?
Right there's a shirt.
Right here's the store. Okay.
It's already formed.
It's already formed. Okay. So המקום ינחם אתכם בתוך שאר הבית ציון